Hello, friends. This is Krista coming to you to talk about the church, deliverance, demons, and end times. So, most churches are not ready for end times and the battle that is to come. They aren't ready mentally, physically, nor emotionally. Hard times are coming, and some are focused on complaining about rainbow flags on the set of the Chosen series. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. That's what I'm seeing online in June of 2023. Now, when the pandemic hit, a large majority of pastors shut their churches down. And for an extended period of time, they didn't know their rights to worship in person, nor did they seek out any of that information, their legal rights. And some Christians never returned after the restrictions were lifted. We saw a drop in attendance across the board in North America, and I'm guessing in other countries as well. When we look at Jesus's ministry, his focus was working of miracles and casting out demons and healing people, healing the sick. And when he sent out his disciples for the first time, he instructed them to do the same thing, to help others by healing them, casting out demons, and so forth. So why do most churches avoid the demon topic altogether in deliverance and spiritual warfare? In fact, some churches go, so far as to believe a Christian can have a demon, which is completely false. A Christian can be oppressed by a demon, not possessed. The demonic affects the mental state, which can create various addictions and bad habits. I mean, if you look at stories about pastors who are caught having an affair or had a substance addiction, typically that need to engage in such activity comes from the demonic. And so we can assume that they had, spirit of lust, a spirit of addiction, and so on. It's just one of many examples that I can think of. But if a Christian and a church is fearful of the demonic, they are not ready for what's coming next. It's just, let's just lay out the facts. They just aren't. And it will be worse than when the pandemic hit. And I don't like to be negative and give this news, but I think the deliverance ministry is a good example of what people are avoiding today, and that of being ill prepared. So if the church won't confront the demonic topic and offer to help the congregation that's in need of deliverance, or to talk about it in service, then the church is not equipped for end times doctrine. Like, how will your church react to disasters or hardships when they come up? Do they even have a disaster plan for their congregation and locations to meet in a catastrophic event? I know that's separate from the demonic topic, but are they even well-rounded? Are they thinking ahead? I once asked a church for deliverance support from a spiritual spouse, and I think it later got to the pastor, and he treated me like a dangerous person, like a middle-aged woman in need of removal of a spiritual spouse. I don't think, for me, from what I've learned in 2 years, it's not that intimidating. One person I know who's a pastor refers to them as critters. I mean, they are nothing compared to dealing with principalities, which we're not supposed to deal with to begin with. But I digress. The level of courage and faith that pastor lacked or had at the time is sort of telling of what was going on in that church. And I pray that things have changed since I've stopped going and moved away. I pray that they are leveling up. But really, I believe hard times are coming, not only for the church, but the world. And if the church refuses to address the demonic issue, the church won't know what to do when a bigger disaster hits beyond the pandemic. And deliverance requires believers step out in greater faith to approach the unknown. It will really stretch and grow people beyond their expectations. So if you're curious about deliverance, ask your pastor or ask someone else on staff in the church whether there is a deliverance ministry, and or ask them their stance about Christians and whether they think they can have a demon. If their response is to refer you to therapy, then they have no knowledge or wisdom on the topic, sadly. In that case, it's not a well-rounded church, and it's not modeling Jesus's ministry if they are avoiding the core things that Jesus taught about. So that's just seems to me like the truth, but that maybe your church is doing something else for the community and helping the poor and giving out food. I'd look at that holistically. So I encourage everyone, beginner believers and advanced, long-term Christians, to understand what exactly demons are, where they came from, and be courageous and know that the name of Jesus is above all names and that you have authority to bind and cast out evil spirits. So exercise your authority and consider starting with yourself or a close friend or a loved one. Cast out as a spirit. Go and figure out what the need is in your life. Spirit of poverty, spirit of sickness. All those things could be an indication of a need for deliverance. The days are short, harder times are coming, so start with the basics, and learning your authority in Christ will be one of your greatest defenses in the end times. It will really equip you and give you a greater mindset and expand your worldview, and ideally expand your love and heart for others to set them free and get them delivered and get them saved and born again through deliverance. Anything is possible. This isn't just for people who are Christians today, but people who are exploring Christianity, who need the help. Look at some Catholic churches actually are doing this today. They do have deliverance ministries. I will give them props to that. It's a lot of the non-denominational Christian churches that are not participating nor acknowledging this topic. And so I want to call it out today. And my prayer is the church levels up and becomes more courageous and takes on some of these weightier issues as we get deeper into end times, the times that we're living in today. So God bless you. Thank you for listening.